you all very much. It's a great honor, and I'll be here many times. We're building a lot of wall. We're going to look at a piece of it today, and I was just told that it had a tremendous, it's had a tremendous impact already, the piece that we're going to be looking at. But we have under contract and under construction. We have a lot of things happening, and we expect to have close to 400 miles done within about 2 years from now. That's a lot. 400 miles will cover most of it. I just want to thank everybody for being here. We have some of our great people from the state, and of all places, it's California, and we love California. But those people wanted us to build wall, and we got it built, including the wall in San Diego, which is pretty much completed, and it's headed. Good.
So, Mr. President, good afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming here to Calexico Station. We're happy to have you.
Thank you.
I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the border wall and what it's done for us here and the activity levels. And when I talk about activity levels, I'm not just referencing the illegal apprehensions or the legal entries. I'm also talking about things like assaults, uses of force, manpower deployments, and statistics related to OTMs, other than Mexicans, and also family units. Now, immediately, like you said, we saw some incredible results from the border wall. We saw a 75% decrease in the first quarter of fiscal year 19 in illegal entries, 65% decrease in assaults and uses of force. Prior to that, prior to the construction, we were #1 in the nation in uses of force and #2 in the nation in assaults. So that's been huge for us. Prior to the construction of the wall, after the construction of the wall, we had an 86% decrease in illegal aliens from the Northern Triangle countries, Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. We also saw that we were able to decrease 38% of our manpower in those areas and deploy them to other parts of the border so that they could be more effective out there. We have apprehended aliens from 40 different unique countries across the globe. Now, in support of the border wall, when you move to other parts of the border where the fence is less effective, we'll speak about downtown Calexico, for instance. We have a older, much less effective picket-style fence, much shorter, 15 feet. Luckily, we were able to bolster that infrastructure with concertina wire in early December.
Right.
The DOD helped with that.
Very effective.
Very effective. 53% decrease in illegal entries after the concertina wire was deployed. We also had some unintended consequences. We saw a 228% increase in fence breaches due to the inferiority of the fence in that area. These fence breaches have cost us $317,000 so far to repair, and they keep going. Now, contrast that with the new wall, and we've only seen 3 breaches post-construction, which is, compare that, we have total, I said 228% increase, but it's been a total of 538 since the C-wire went up in December.
Right.
These breaches, though, they don't just represent the ease in which that aliens can enter the United States, they also represent a significant challenge and security and safety challenge to our Border Patrol agents on the lines. We saw a 143% increase in the assaults against our agents in this area with the breaches. A couple of months ago, an agent was responding to a breach where several illegal aliens had already pushed through the border. He was struck in the back of the neck with a rock and required hospitalization. Just last month, a female agent was monitoring cross-border traffic when an illegal alien, a self-admitted gang member, with a rusted lawnmower blade in his hand, threw it through the agent's closed window. Luckily, she saw the assailant out of the corner of her eye as he was coming at her, and she was able to actually put up her left hand and block that lawnmower blade from hitting her in the face, but she did sustain injuries to her arm. So it's a significant challenge to us. I referenced the OTM and family unit statistics earlier. The stretch of border now, where specifically in the Calexico Station, where we see all of those aliens, just happens to be where we have the oldest, most outdated infrastructure in the sector. It's the old, what we call the landing mat style fence. 90% of all the OTMs and family units that enter in in Calexico Station enter through that area. Represents a 77% increase over the same time last year. Mr. President, at the end of the day, walls work, infrastructure works, We need more wall, we need more manpower, and we need more technology. And the mix of those is incredibly important. I can't stress that enough.
Thank you, Joseph. The people of Calexico have been incredible. They've really rolled out the red carpet. We appreciate it. And let me ask you a question. You or Brandon or both, you could ask. So what do you do when we have military and we have the great Border Patrol and we have everybody here, but you have big open sections for miles and miles before we build the wall? We're building it now, but before. How do you stop these large numbers of people coming? You're not, look, other countries, what they do is very, very tough. We can't do what they do. You understand that. We can't do what they do. We don't want to do what they do. But how do you stop these large, sometimes massive groups of people from just pouring through? What do you do? Prior to the wall. Once the wall is up, it's easy.
You just grab as many as you can, you arrest as many as you can, and the ones that get away, get away.
But there's nothing that you can do to physically keep them out of the country. That's what barriers are for. They physically keep people out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the groups, as you know, are going up. It used to be that we'd see maybe one group a year of over 100.
Yeah.
We've already seen over 100 groups of over 100 people, which is 100 people breaching our border at one time that the Border Patrol goes and picks up. And they're being very, as usual, humble. They also save thousands of people every year, many of whom have been left for dead by the smugglers and traffickers. So they take all parts of their mission seriously, but we need to resource them so they can do them all.
And so I just speak to the folks in the first, second, third row, very special people, and some of the fourth row, I see.
We need the funding and the authority to detain these aliens during their immigration proceedings. In addition, as you know, current laws and court rulings like the judicial interpretation of the Flores Settlement Agreement have created pull factors that basically incentivize illegal migrants to cross our border by the thousands every day. We must amend these outdated laws to deter the illegal immigration and prevent the effective operation of our lawful immigration system. America's also facing a public safety crisis. ICE has had to reassign hundreds of officers to the border, limiting our ability to arrest, remove criminal aliens, gang members, and public safety threats from our communities. Just in fiscal year 2018, ICE arrested approximately 10,000 gang members, including 2,000 that were members of the MS-13 gang. We also seized over 1 million pounds of narcotics, including 2,700 pounds of fentanyl. Any reduction in these vital law enforcement efforts creates an unnecessary and unacceptable risk in our communities and for our citizens. I appreciate your time, sir. Thank you.
You know, you mentioned fentanyl. So, as you know, we're working on a trade deal with China. That's part of it. They've agreed that they will not be, essentially not sending it. They're going to criminalize it, which it's not criminalized right now. And they're going to classify it in such a way that it's very hard to send, make, and a lot of other things. So we have some pretty good things coming on because it comes, a lot of it, I guess most of it comes in from China. And President Xi himself has told me they're going to do that. We have an agreement, and they have actually already started, so that'll help you a lot.
Thanks, sir.
Some of it's coming right in here, right to Mexico, and then across. So I think we're going to take care of a lot of it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, sir.
Please.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. Welcome to Calexico, if I may.
Thank you.
What we are currently encountering along the border, the entire southwest border, is truly a border humanitarian issue. The influx of people, especially from Central America, is completely overwhelming our agents and our agency. The apprehension demographic has completely changed from what it was in the past. In previous years, the majority of our arrests were from people from Mexico. Now those arrests are from Central America. Especially with the threat that we have now of organized caravans coming to our borders and bringing thousands of people. Mr. President, now the majority of our agents are assigned to transportation duties, processing duties, and hospital watch. Here at All Central Sector, that is with a workforce that is approximately 300 agents below the allowed amount. To put things into perspective, approximately 60 agents per day are assigned to these duties. If you look over here, that can go to the preparation of the food, the caring of the unaccompanied children, and the helping the family units. Those are 60 agents that can and should be patrolling our border. That affects our national security. As previously stated, our Central Sector has seen an increase of 400% of family unit apprehensions. That's 400%. we've seen an increase of 24% in the apprehensions of unaccompanied children. What we're seeing is minors being exploited and being implanted into these fake family units. Transnational criminal organizations are coaching these families and even providing them with fraudulent documents to assist them with their claim. Very recently here in El Centro sector, through an operation, we were able to rescue 6 minors that had been implanted into these fake family units. What's even more concerning is these children range from a 9-month-old infant to a 14-year-old. Something that's also that we're beginning to see are Mexican nationals claiming that they are from Central America in an attempt to exploit these loopholes and these old, outdated immigration laws. Mr. President, we are in daily communication with consulates from all over the world in an attempt to verify these family unit claims. This task is nearly impossible because we don't have the resources or just the logistics of what it takes to help us. This is complete crisis. We need your assistance. We need additional agents. We need resources. We are completely overwhelmed as agents and as an agency. Thank you for your assistance.
Okay, good, and we'll take care of it. And I agree with you. Good job. We'll take care of it. Your turn.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I want to thank you for your leadership on border security because the impacts are definitely felt in California. And the second thing I want to do is on behalf of my constituents and all Californians, I want to thank all of the men and women here whose job it is to make sure that that border is secure. And it's made more and more difficult every single day by the majority party in California. As you recall, Governor Brown, when he was in office, he reluctantly allowed National Guard troops to go down to the border to assist.
That's true.
And then Governor Newsom got into office and he very quickly said, no more National Guard troops down at the border. We don't want to assist. That comes from the fact that the Democrats in California decided that California would be a sanctuary state. That if you're an illegal immigrant and you want to come into the United States, California is the place that you want to come. We are going to roll out the red carpet. That causes a strain not only on our taxpayers, not only on law enforcement, not only on our schools. I mean, it is across the board. It is felt everywhere.
And by the way, it makes it much tougher for everybody. I mean,
That's
they
right.
pour into these areas that sanctuary cities are a disaster, and
Yep.
they pour in, and a lot of the places in California, they don't want to be sanctuary cities.
No,
They're actually
they don't.
asking not to be a sanctuary city, which is
We had a
pretty
lot of
incredible.
cities across California.
Absolutely.
A lot of people go to their city councils and demand that their city councils state for the record that they would not become
Right.
a sanctuary city, which of course didn't work because the legislature said, no, we're going to become a sanctuary state. So we have the issue of drugs, which everyone here has spoken about. I don't need to add on to that. I think we're very clear on the problems with the drugs. And we're very clear on the financial burden that this places on this country and on this state. But when everyone else in the world wants to say this is not a crisis, what I would say to them is Obama's secretary, just I think last week, Jay Johnson said he cannot imagine how these agents are managing the border and that it is a crisis. So if Jay Johnson can acknowledge it, I would hope that Democrats across this country could acknowledge it as well. Because what is happening is Democrats are saying they want to take our border and change it from a border into a crosswalk. And we cannot have that.
Well,
Thank
Jay
you.
Johnson was great. He, very strong statement. And Mr. Morgan, too, who worked for President Obama, said this is a problem, has been, not just now. I mean, this has been going on. I think probably the economy and a lot of other things have brought him up even more. We've had some very bad court decisions. The Flores decision is a disaster, I have to tell you. Judge Flores, whoever you may be, that decision is a disaster for our country, a disaster. And we're working on that. But I just want to thank you. Great job you're doing. Really appreciate it. We're going to get it taken care of. It's all going to come together. Thank you. Kevin, please.
For the border with General Semonite's team's assistance, that wall is formidable. It's making an impact in the security of this sector, but we need to continue to work with Congress on improving the laws. As you noted, we need partnership from Mexico on these flows and tackling the criminals that are exploiting these individuals and really the ones that are profiting from this entire cycle. And I just want to thank my men and women who do a tremendous job here every day Very, very proud of their commitment, even though they're facing extreme challenges, as you've heard.
And their
Thank you.
central, and let's go see the wall.